The core of the Haggadah begins with the words Mitchila Avdei Avodah Zarah Hayavatenu, that in the beginning our ancestors were pagans and now God's brought us near to his service. And at first glance we wonder, what is that doing in the Haggadah? Very important, very nice, but what's it got to do with Egypt, coming out of Egypt? Until we reflect and realize actually there's a bigger problem here tonight. Here we are commemorating, celebrating God taking us out of Egypt and thanking him for it. But who got us in there in the first place? Is it not God himself? And in case we're thinking, well, maybe not, maybe it was human forces and then God saves the situation. Actually, the Haggadah reminds us that God himself had promised Abraham, he'd said, your descendants are going to be enslaved in Egypt, and then I'll bring them out. So the whole thing seems to raise a serious problem. What is this Egypt thing about? What are we thanking Hashem, thanking God for, if he's the one who, so to speak, creates the problem in the first place? And to that, the Haggadah answers with this passage. And it says it's actually a multi-stage journey from, if you like, an almost deeper type of slavery, a world completely dominated by the pagan forces, by the nature, by the worship of power, by all that came along with that. And it's a journey into an entirely radically different paradigm, different way of viewing everything, different vision of humanity and dream for what humanity can become. And that takes place in several stages, and the Haggadah outlines them right now. And what we do in the Haggadah is we read 4 verses based on what the farmer would declare when he brought his first fruits to the temple. And the first one talks about how Jacob, Yaakov and his sons went down into Egypt. The next one talks about how enslaved and how persecuted and crushed we were. It was all gone. The core holding us is ripped to pieces. There's no ability to succeed. Everything was taken away from us. We were enslaved such that, according to the normal laws that govern geopolitics and history, we had no chance of survival. There was no way we were going to make it out. We might one day have become free Egyptian citizens, but there was no other group, no recognizable Israel that would ever have emerged. And the rabbis tell us also that not just physically, but spiritually as well, culturally, in every level we were so Egyptian. Except, the 3rd verse says, the ancestral gene came alive, and we were able to cry and say, you know what? There's something above all the natural laws, above all the supernatural, spiritual laws, the creator of the universe himself. And we said at that moment, God, we are willing to commit ourselves to you. We're willing to create an existence that is based on nothing but our relationship with you. And as you transcend all natural limits, we will visualize a humanity beyond where it thinks its natural limits are. We will visualize a world greater than just run by power and might and things like that. And that's the basis upon which we become free. And so the Egypt story involves more than just an incredible story of slavery to freedom, which would be worth learning about anyway. It involves a transcendence. It involves a sense of we can actually be free, at least in the long run, of things we believe are the natural limits of ourselves, of our nation, and of the whole of humanity. It involves a leap on the Jewish people's side, and God responds in the same way. And what then occurs, both in the narrative in the Haggadah and the rest of Seder night, is something unbelievable as we learn about God's response to man, as man seeks transcendence. Man seeks the ability to dream in a different way, think in a different way, climb in a different way. That the message of Egypt is not merely the political pathway from slavery to freedom, but the capacity of the human being to rise well outside of what they normally perceive their natural limits to be, and the capacity of humanity to do the same. And that's beginning to transform the way that we look at Seder night, and that's why the Haggadah took that step backwards and says, one sec, you have to see all of this in the context of that greater plan. It's a story of a journey to a connection with the source of reality that suggests that what emerges on the other side is a people committed to the ability to visualize a world higher than we think its natural limits currently are. And that is an awakening of a greatness that means the Egypt story is more than just slavery to freedom in the physical sense, but in a much deeper sense too. And how the Haggadah develops that and takes it further becomes the core of the journey of the Seder night, and that's what we're going to talk about in the next video.